Hello and welcome back to the Apprentice 1-to-1 podcast. Today I'm trying something different again, and I do have a YouTube channel that I've had up in place for quite a few months now that is just aimed at sharing content that might help apprentices and electricians as well. I've only released 3 or 4 videos on there to do with safe isolation and diverted neutral current as a couple of examples, and this podcast is going to drop out on that as well. Because people have asked to see where I record these things, and some video behind it all might be useful, so I've decided to do that, and this is going to drop out on there as well. The aim of this podcast today is to speak about the employment of apprentices. So this is a running theme I've had over the last 18 months, leading on towards 2 years now, of people messaging desperately trying to find employment who are already in colleges and training centres on apprenticeships. It's either people who are towards the end of their training and are looking for some experience to complete their portfolios and prepare for AM2, but also lots of new people being recruited into colleges and learning environments who haven't been able to find employers, some of which are given a lot of help by the colleges they're attending. Others are just kind of told, you're going to have to get on with this yourselves. And as a 16, 17, 18-year-old young person, that can be really difficult. And having spoken to some of the lecturers within that kind of environment, often they're under pressure in colleges to get funding in so they can stay open. I totally understand that. Often we can be seen to be calling out these training centres who are getting learners in without having employers in place, but it isn't their fault. The market there isn't currently supporting apprenticeship training. It's a really difficult one to solve. Training centres can only do so much. They can only go so far in trying to engage with the local contracting people who are looking for apprentices. This has to be more industry-wide in acceptance of this being a problem. I've spoken about it. The guys and girls who've come on various podcasts, be it this one, the Electricians Show and Monday Club, we've all spoken about these things to try and raise awareness of the benefits of employing apprentices, and also to discuss the issue of it not happening. And I think kind of along the way this gets lost in the discussion. And it was from talking with Craig from Walthamstow on a recent podcast I recorded with Neil on the Electricians Show, and he brought something back to the front of my mind that's kind of slipped from centre focus, I think, and that is ultimately the learners and people going through this need to be part of the discussion. They need to be involved and understood in what's going on with all of this, and while they're out there just trying to qualify as an electrician and do training in the right way, I'm not sure if the rest of industry truly understands that a majority of them, I would say, obviously I'm basing this on what I see in Apprentice 1-to-1, and I am mindful that lots of people coming into that kind of thing are looking for help and support, so it's maybe not a fair reflection on the whole industry, but certainly the majority of what I see is apprentices in colleges and training centres who don't have employers. And we've got the IET conference. I think it's the 13th of December. I've shared a couple of posts on Twitter and LinkedIn about it, having had that drop into my email inbox this last week, where they're wanting to talk about electrician competence and how you can identify and help use that in housing. And I recommend you go and watch it. I'm going to be watching it, and it's with the viewpoint of hope that they're going to reference into the apprenticeship system, because it just seems like a lot of talk from management bodies who don't really want to kind of engage with electricians and understand what some of the core issues are out there. We see it. I network with people on social media every day, and we're not having the numbers of apprenticeship vacancies that we need. So it's okay with sitting there and where are these competent electricians, and how you can identify them, and the things you can do to try and not use unskilled labour. Brilliant. But of the organisations talking about that, how many apprentices do they have in their companies? What kind of rates are they paying to the electrical contractors servicing their buildings? Let's ask some of these big questions. Let's turn that spotlight around and really deal with the problem. The rest is just, it's window dressing and smoke and mirrors. And for me, it can be a little bit frustrating that it seems they're trying to apportion blame on unethical electricians and have accountability on electricians. I'd like to see some accountability of the actual issue. And the actual issue is not enough apprenticeship places are available for people who want to qualify as electricians. That's a fact. It's just they're not there. And as a result, people resort to short course training or going through evening classes or full-time students studying towards level 3, and they never get the opportunity for the practical training that's needed. And then they reach the end of that training and they're desperately trying to seek some experience to get the practical skills that they're going to need, and that's when they start getting in touch with people like me. So I guess my message in all of that is, let's really delve into the problem. Let's be honest about it. We've had the decline in apprentice employment for a lot of years. It's gone on for a long, long time, and if we want to resolve that, you just simply can't do that with a conference or a click of a mouse, or trying to blame the electricians, or using software, or highlighting the pitfalls of choosing incompetent electricians. Where's the support for electricians? Where's the industry engagement with them? Who's talking to us? Who wants to see what goes out on the coalface of the trade, the homes we get sent into, the time pressures we're under because of the rates that are offered from a large majority of the industry, especially in social housing and local authority EICR schemes. You just have to go and look at some of the tender documents that are put out there for people. If you're part of that system, to then sit there and lecture electricians about competence. I'm going to keep an open mind on this conference on the 13th of December. I am going to sit and attend it, and I'm really hopeful that there will be some acknowledgement of the difficulties we face in the industry as electricians. The IET write the book that we work from, or they certainly put their badge all over it. They're trying to encourage the electrician eng tech and having a route of progression for electricians to demonstrate their training and competence. But, are they listening to electricians? Do they have electricians in their membership with a voice that is powerful and acknowledged? It's okay talking to a lot of these big companies and big employers and the management teams with them and the local authorities and other people who, might have letters after their name and things like that. But it's avoiding the issue. If you aren't speaking to electricians, it is avoiding the issue. And I see it every day. And that's the purpose of this podcast, this video that I'm releasing. It's to try and draw attention back onto that there are thousands of apprentices, and to give scale of it, I'm not just saying this because I get 1 or 2 messages a week from people who are in training without employers. From week to week I can have 50 to 100 people, different individuals, messaging me saying that they haven't managed to find an employer, they're still struggling to get work experience on site, and that can be new entrants to the industry, new apprentices, and it can be adult retrainees. There's a Discord server that I've set up with a small little community in there of people talking about these issues every day. The Instagram direct messages are just off the charts some days, and I feel really bad that people are messaging me for help and guidance to try and find employers, and the best I've got for them is to go around the local wholesale network, speak to your wholesalers, leave CVs on the counter, get engaged on social media with employers who might be in your local area, hit up all the job boards. When really I'd like to say, this is a big industry drive that the big bodies of the electrical industry are all behind, where we're trying to engage with employers to create a certain percentage of employment in their companies for apprentices. And they're actively promoting that across social media. They're really diving in and engaging with colleges, offering to support them, find local companies who maybe would be willing to take apprentices on. But I'm just not seeing it. I'm seeing a lot of lecturing, a lot of judgment, and a lot of people trying to apportion accountability onto electricians currently trying to survive in that marketplace. So yeah, that's the purpose of this video. I want other people who are perhaps regular electrical contractors out there listening to this to understand the scale of the problem. If I'm seeing this just in my little apprentice one-to-one community, there's got to be a bigger problem out there. And it's not just something that's sprung up through COVID. This is something that's been going on for a number of years. And it's easy to be a commentator about these things, as I am doing now. I totally understand that. I'm just joining in with the discussion, trying to give people a voice who maybe otherwise wouldn't be heard, and raising the uncomfortable discussions with industry. And I do it from a point of view that I hope it will be listened to and acknowledged and maybe engaged with. You know, we've seen some brilliant campaigns from TESP. I've spoken about this a lot, and there's a podcast coming out on the Spark Show that I'm really proud of, actually, that we've recorded very recently, acknowledging some of the good work that TESP are trying to do. And, you know, I think it's important that we keep on that train of holding trainers to account who aren't being ethical in the way they enrol people onto courses, not just the mis-sold courses. You know, I think that's a big problem. And then also to acknowledge as industry we need to do more to try and create apprenticeship roles, and not just that, roles for people to go in and work together and gain experience, because we're making these routes available where you can go and do a level 3 qualification and then do a portfolio and an MVQ. So if you're offering that as a trainer, you need to also be offering the opportunity where people can go and get that experience to finish their qualification, their MVQ, their AM2, and be accepted as electricians in the workplace. And yeah, it's really just trying to encourage that honest discussion. I'm planning on opening the Apprentice 1-to-1 Academy, and I will happily say right now there will not be a single student enrolled on an apprenticeship course within that academy who does not have an employer. It just will not happen. You know, if I can't make it work on that basis, we won't do it at all. And part of the reason I am doing this, and you know, we're recording all of this as footage for social media, is to show the difficulties training centres have in making this work within the financial remits that are put forward by government, the pressures that they're under as well. And there's going to be honest discussion on all of that. I'm not here to try and call out those training providers and colleges who are working within the further education sector. You know, it's to try and highlight the difficulties and show that this is really, really hard, and we need to do more as industry to support that. So, you know, that's the aim and the goal of that there, and ultimately to try and have a learning facility that's really, really good for students and learners and can perhaps be replicated across the country or in some way affiliated with other colleges. You know, it's really exciting actually with that, but I am mindful it could all not work. It might not work, and that's just an honest analogy of what I'm seeing as we're setting it up. You know, it's going to be very difficult. I'm fully aware of that. So yes, that was the purpose of this video. That is why I'm going to drop it out on the little YouTube channel, because I think it might help engage with some of the big issues that electricians are seeing out in the real world. I think there needs to be more engagement with us to actually understand how some of these problems can be solved. There's a lot of talk about us, there's a lot of talk towards us, but there isn't an awful lot of discussion with us. It's easy to talk at someone, isn't it? But who's opening their ears to what we've got to say and really listening to that? And it'll be interesting to see over the coming months, you know, how that builds out, because we do have the IET kind of trying to move towards electricians again. You know, we're seeing it with the electrician eng tech, and there's rumours of a card for electricians and things that the IET are working on. We've got the Joint Industry Board who are making some moves again with the possibility of a gold card for domestic installations only with the new domestic apprenticeship. And you know, you've got your CPSs as well who are, you know, actively trying to readjust how they enrol qualified supervisors thanks to the new EAS document. So there are things afoot, there's things that's going on, and I'm hoping that involves discussion with electricians and involvement with electricians, and not just the management teams from companies that employ electricians. You know, you don't get a full voice in the discussion on that basis. You just don't. I'm sorry. You know, that's a harsh truth I'm happy to stand behind. And yes, so the UK Electricians YouTube channel, I think I've called it, is open to anyone who's got some content that they might want to share. It can be a little blog or vlog or podcast like this. It can be some tips of how to get a specific work task done, and none of that channel will ever be monetized, so it won't ever display YouTube ads that are going to generate me any money. They just won't be switched on. And also there'll be no sponsorship on that channel at all for anything. It's really aimed for electricians who would like to share some content onto YouTube who don't have the want to do it themselves in terms of editing and putting the thing together. So, it's open to anybody. It's not just my videos and my content. I'm happy to share the work of you guys as well. So if there's something as an apprentice you want to share on there that you think might help other people, send it over, get in touch with me. All the contact details will be in the podcast show notes, in the description of the YouTube video. And it's there for all. I'm going to keep dropping the podcasts out onto that channel as well. Some of the feedback I've had through social media has been that they'd quite like to see some video footage of me recording these podcasts to see where I am. And I know that a lot of people listen in the van rather than actually watch on YouTube. But it's nice to go and see maybe where Mark's sat. I know I'm a bit nosy with that on the YouTube as well with the other guys who put podcasts out. I'll often go and have a look and see who they were with and what they look like. And so this is me. I'm in my office. This is a lunch break. So I am sat at my desk just quickly taking 20 minutes, half an hour to drop a podcast out that hopefully might help people. I've got some of my creations around me. So this is going to be the Power Bank 3.0. It's currently under construction, and I'm just sorting out my pack out behind me there. Maybe get a TikTok video out of tidying that up, who knows. But otherwise, if you have any comments on this and you want to get involved in the discussion around employing apprentices, please drop them below in the YouTube or podcast comments before. Chuck it out on social media. I'll share this as well. If you want to come on and chat with me, there are a couple of apprentices who've already approached me to come and do podcasts, and we're going to do those soon. That's still open to anybody on the Apprentice One-to-One podcast. I want to hear your voices and your stories, as we had Aidan on last. Just get in touch and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to leave that there. We've just gone over 15 minutes, which is sort of the ideal length for these kind of things, I think. And thanks for taking the time to listen. If you are on the fence about employing an apprentice, go and check out some of the early podcasts to do with grants and the costs that you might incur as an employer in taking on an apprentice, and some of the benefits that you can reap on that basis as well. But otherwise, until the next recording, thanks for listening to the Apprentice One-to-One podcast, and I will see you all on the next one.